back with another video, baby. Who says that? Anyway, I don't have an intro. I don't. We just did the tier list about falling off. Shout out to Smack. And now we're doing the one where these characters have like a climb, right? Now I want to do like a little bit of a thing where maybe I'll do 3. I think we might do 3 actually. We could probably do 3. A rise up, and then I want to do one that's slept on. I think slept on characters would be fire. And that might just be like 5. I don't really think I have a 10 for that. But anyway, we can jump right into this one today, guys. Again, the chat is with me, so I want them to be able to be active in this and try and help me out, because top 10 characters that are jumping up, I legit have no idea how I'm gonna pull off 10. I have 5 in my head right now, but you guys are gonna have to help me come up with the rest of them, or at least give me the ideas, because boy, same rules apply. I didn't really fix the, there we go, now I fixed the numbers. Excuse me, number 1 is gonna be the one that came up the most, and then number 10 is gonna be the one that came up the least, but it's still a come up at the end of the day. Herta, yeah, I guess pure fiction would count, right? We could count that. Herta did have some really big growth actually, where she was somewhere and now she isn't. But we need to start, so I want to start at 10, right? Let's try and knock out like 8 through 10. Maybe we'll do that first, right? 8, 9, 10, 10, 9, 8. Let's kind of see where we're going. Oh, you know what though? Okay, wait. Now that I'm looking at it, hear me out. I'm just going to throw them at the top and we'll figure it out later. But I already know, like, I'm telling y'all right now, bro. I'm throwing them up at the top. I feel like I'm missing one. Maybe that's it. Yeah. Oh, okay. I'll figure out the rest later. These 3, man, they have to go somewhere up here, and I'll explain why. For number 10, Pela would actually be a really good one. Pela did have a solid come up, and she's pretty solid so far. So like Pela being number 10 makes a little bit more sense if we were looking at it that way. And I think it's fair, because Pela is still something that's being used today, right? A lot of characters, a lot of players are still playing with using Pela because she has the AoE defense drop, and it's basically 50%, right? Like 45 or 47% to be very specific. That's kind of where Pela is, which is really good. I don't really have too much else to say about her. You know, Pela was one of those characters, like defense reduction as a whole was one of those elements in the game that early on was super slept on. She was super slept on early on, and over time more players started to understand the value of not just defense drops, but the value of status effects or status influence in general when it comes to turn-based mechanics. Turn-based RPGs, again, Pokemon is one that I like to reference a lot. Anything in a turn-based RPG that manipulates your stats or your opponent's stats should always be looked at with a very high priority. Early on, defense was not like anything that did that. If it wasn't speed, and I mean, you could go back to year 1 of Star Rail, where a lot of the titles were revolved around, like I remember one off the top of my head, speed is king. Speed was the number 1 thing looked at in Star Rail. That if you didn't have a fast character, none of it mattered. If it didn't have speed or speed boost, none of it mattered. If it didn't have action advance 4 like Bronya, none of it mattered. They didn't care about defense reduction. They didn't care about reducing your opponent's speed. They didn't care about manipulating the opponent's action value with like things like freeze or slow or imprison. None of this shit was looked at until we started to get further along in the game. Once we started to reach not even the first MOC, like the second MOC, that's when players really started to look at the different type of characters. That's where you started to see more Pelas jump up. That's where you started to see like welts with slows and imprison. A lot of that kind of stuff happened. So that's what I would say with Pela. I would say number 9, a character that had a little bit of a glow up. See, some of these characters fall under slept on, and it's easier for me to like look at what's slept on versus not. And I can't even say March, because at this point this is a whole different character. Hunt March is a whole different character, dude. So I can't even say that. Sampo had a little bit of a glow up, right? A little bit of a glow up, but not a lot. You know what? Sui Yi could fall into this category, because when Sui Yi first came out, she was super like, nope, we don't like Sui Yi. But now more players understand, and maybe it's because they have E6, right? I know a lot of things pertaining to Sui Yi was like, oh, if you don't have E6, she's not good, which was never the case. That was never the case. It's just that E6 allowed you to do more Sui shenanigans than without. But she was still a rock solid character at that. And so I think Sui being number 9 should be okay. Luca had a glow up too though, but Luca's one of those characters where like Luca was low key close to the fall off category. I think it's just because DOT. I think he's here because of the DLT, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I wouldn't even put him on the glow up list. It's really hard. Asta, Ting Yun, and Asta, the original Powerpuff Girls. You got 2 Astas. I think Asta did have a glow up though. We can say Asta had a glow up. I think off the top of my head, Asta had a glow up, Ho-Oh had a glow up, Clara had a glow up. We can order these characters here in a moment. I think these 3 characters in particular definitely had glow ups. Herta had a glow up. I think Ting Yun was always at the top. It took players a little bit to realize that the value Ting Yun brings to the table versus Bronya was too good to ignore. I think that was the case for sure. So let's order these characters real quick. Number 8, so a character that like they had a little bit of a glow up, you know, they were kind of there, but players weren't really recognizing it as much. I feel like Ho-Oh fits under that category. Because for the longest time, Ho-Oh was being argued against, not for, but against. I think literally it was Rihu, Smack, and maybe Moon. Because even I wasn't arguing for Ho-Oh. I wasn't arguing against her though, but I wasn't arguing for her. I think Smack, Rihu, and Moon might have been the only ones that I'm aware of as creators that publicly came out and they were like, no, like Ho-Oh is up there. Right? So they're one of the few that they were arguing for Ho-Oh. Whereas a large vocal majority of players were arguing against Ho-Oh being in a higher tier, that tier being like tier 0 or tier 0.5, whatever. They were basically just arguing against the fact that Ho-Oh was not as good as Uxuan or any other sustained character for that matter at that time outside of what she brought to the table. So I feel like Ho-Oh being in a good 8 spot is very good. I think Herta and Clara probably go a little higher on the list. And I think Asta might be a good 7 spot. Asta's one of those Harmony characters where she was slept on, and then over time we understood the values, right? Like what she brings to the table, the plus 50 speed. Basically around Kafka, around DOT, that's when Asta really started to get a big boom, because that's when you started getting easier access to 200 speed Kafka. And in a situation where DOT, you know, you want to take as many turns as possible, and you start combining things with like Asta and Bronya, you had some really messed up DOT combos in the game. So I feel like Asta's good. She also helped with break. She could apply burn. Yeah, Asta being in the 7th spot is pretty solid. I think she had a good glow up to the point where like now if you see Asta, she's no longer attached to just DOT. She wasn't before, but again, it was easier to explain it that way. But now Asta is looked at as a very solid Harmony unit that you use when you don't have some of the more busted characters, right? You don't have Robin, then you fill in Asta. And that much was a given for a lot of the DOT characters, even some of the follow-up teams, or even like Super Break right now with Firefly. Bro, Asta loves her being on a team like that. Now, the problem with this team is that Firefly gives herself plus 900 speed anyway, so she doesn't need it, but the rest of the team could benefit from it. And because Firefly is going to make everything Fire Weak anyway, Asta helps you break a ton compared to a lot of stuff going on in the game, and it helps you out with like no sustain comp, which I think that Super Break comps should be running no sustain as it is, but I feel like that's fair for that. Number 5, something in the middle, something that can go high or low. Ooh, it might just be Clara. It legit might just be Clara. I think Clara is the one. Clara goes in number 6. Clara had a nice little come up in the beginning of the game. Clara was a similar situation, one of those characters where if you had her, she basically played the game for you. She was Blade before Blade. She buffed herself up with a little bit of HP. She could take a lot of hits, and then she fired back. Early on, her counter technique was so good. And then the follow-ups, the massive AoE that she had across the board, breaking things physical would give you bleed, so a little bit of extra damage. Clara had a lot going for her early game. And then as you got to mid to late game and you started getting more characters, in particular characters like Jing Yuan, Clara started to fall off. And so now we're at a point, once again, when Yun Li came out, now we see more support for follow-up attacks. Now we see more supports for the counterattack type. Not so much like counterattack has its own meta now, but because Yun Li came out and we started looking more into counter stuff, you start seeing more stuff with Clara, and Clara kind of has it going from there. Yeah, I can't put Zhao Shou on the list because, like, if anything, Zhao Shou goes in my slept on category, but I can't put him here. I don't think Hertz would be 5. I don't think Hertz is 5 either. Hertz is closer up. I need a 5th. We need one more character. Oh wait, I'm dumb. Hold on. Wait. Say less. Boot Hill. If I had to order this though, let me try and like think about how I would order this, right? I'm telling y'all right now, number one is Topaz. Free. The number one character to have the biggest glow up in the game is Topaz. Easy. She was number one Doom post. If you want to talk about Doom post in Star Rail, number one, Topaz. They Doom post the fuck out of her. And it wasn't even because she was bad. People Doom posted her because of the animations. And then that turned into, oh, well, she's bad anyway. So it does, nah, fuck that, bro. Number one, Topaz, easy. Number two, Himiko. I think it would go like this. I think my list would go like this. What about Ruan Mei? Ruan Mei was not, she did not have a come up. Ruan Mei got Doom posted. She did get Doom posted to hell and back though. Ruan Mei did get Doom posted to hell and back, but this would be the list for sure. Let me explain. Herta, I think Herta sits in the middle. Now, this is interchangeable. Herta could go where Boot Hill is. Boot Hill could go where Herta is. And I think that might be a little bit more appropriate. But Herta has something similar to like Himiko with like pure fiction. They pretty much gave her a mode that she excels in. To this day, she excels in one of the best modes, or rather the other in-game mode that we should be taking a look at a lot more often. Inside of MOC, Herta struggles a lot in MOC, but it's not that she's unusable. Because players were able to invest into their Herta to use in pure fiction, more players actually started looking into Herta for MOC. Now I know before Sam, Herta was actually getting some pretty solid clears. Like Hyper Carry Herta was getting some pretty solid clears in MOC pre-Sam. The first time we got Sam, not the second time. And now it's pretty much a matter of like similar to Jing Liu, where if the enemy is Ice Weak, you only have so few options, and Herta really comes in to shine given the fact that you actually built or invested into your Herta through pure fiction. So I think Herta deserves to be on this come up list. Let me explain Boot Hill real quick. Boot Hill is another character that got Doom posted to hell, and he didn't need to be. What happened with Boot Hill in particular is we were looking at that MOC, and a lot of the MOC, I think that was the Trotter. At that time, Boot Hill had that Trotter. You kill the Trotter, it advances you forward 100%. So people were using that Trotter as a reason to say that Boot Hill is not as strong or as good as he is, because this Trotter is helping him get medals. And so getting the medals is his whole shtick. And if you can't do that with the Trotter because he doesn't have action advance, he's not going to be anywhere near as good. Firefly comes out. Firefly has everything that Boot Hill wants, but better. Boom, Firefly's better. Automatically, Boot Hill's the bottom. Over time, once players started to understand how to play the game a lot better, or they understood certain values, you started to see a lot more casual players point out Boot Hill. When the casual players start pointing something out because they heard it or saw it from somewhere else, that's how you know like this is a good sign. When casual players started pointing out the fact that they feel like or they think Boot Hill is stronger than Firefly, or they think they should have gotten Boot Hill over Firefly, that's when you know this is a good conversation to have. Boot Hill had a good come up. He went from a character that wasn't looked at as amazing to now arguably top 3 DPS in the game. And I say arguably because you really got to make a good argument for it. And it doesn't come down to just Boot Hill at this point. It comes down to the whole team. And now we're arguing teams. It's an argument that could go either way. But yeah, he was completely overlooked 100%. And he has weakness implant exactly with his ultimate. Boot Hill's technique makes it so that he weakness implants the first thing anyway. Boot Hill's main issue is literally the medals. Once you get those medals, once you turn Boot Hill online, it's over. He's gonna do a lot of damage. He can do a lot of damage fast, and he is I think the fastest breaker in the game. Correct me if I'm wrong, but when he has all 3 medals, he blows somebody's back out immediately. So it's really good for Boot Hill. Gallagher is my number 3. The reason I have Gallagher up here as number 3, this boy, oh my goodness. When I tell y'all, when we got Gallagher and so many people were saying this, like he's just not worth it. There's no reason to build your Gallagher. If you have a Ventrine, you don't need Gallagher. If you have Ho-Oh, you don't need Gallagher. I'd rather use, where's she at? Hold on. When this conversation started getting brought up, I knew we were lost as a community. I knew as a community, collectively, we were lost. When people started bringing up the fact that Lynx over Gallagher, like you should use Lynx over Gallagher, bro. Lynx is better than Gallagher. No, stop. Stop. The problem with this was that Lynx was, how do I explain this without making it sound like it's bad? And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not saying this in like an offensive manner. My issue that I kind of like checked with Lynx, right? When I looked at how the community observed Lynx and when these things were happening, what happened with Lynx was that she was the free healer we were supposed to get, or rather that we did get. And this free healer was used as a reason to skip Luocha, Ho-Oh, you don't need a Japard, don't worry about adventuring. I don't think he was around at that time yet, but still, they were using this free healer, this anonymous free healer that no one knew who the fuck it was. We just knew a free healer was coming. That's what the community kept saying based off the dreams, and it was Lynx. So there was a crazy attachment to Lynx being this free healer that's supposed to be like phenomenal for any free-to-play character or free-to-play player. I think that was the reason so many people were attached to Lynx and kept trying to push Lynx as a much better character than what she was. Now, I do think Lynx fills a very niche healer role for characters like Clara or Blade, or even Yun Li, characters that want to get hit a lot. Lynx is great for that. Keep them alive, get them hit, keep them alive, get them hit. But Lynx does have some faults. Now, Gallagher also has some faults. Those faults are very few and far in between. Gallagher's main fault is, do you know how to play Gallagher? Yes or no? No? Okay, well, you got a lot of faults. Do you know how to play Gallagher? Yes? Okay, then you practically have 0 faults. Like, what is your fault? Oh, I didn't heal fast enough. You mean you didn't use your skill when you should have used your skill? And I fall under this category too, where there's times where I'm like, you know, they'll get their turn. I'll be able to attack first and get some heals, right? I'll be able to skip a turn. Nope, bopped. Nah, they're not gonna hit my DPS, man. I got one destruction character and a preservation character and a healer. They're gonna hit one of these characters before my DPS. Boom, bop, DPS out of here. Now I gotta restart the run. So it just comes down to playing the character. But Gallagher as a whole, Acheron, so the ultimate teams, they love Gallagher. Regular teams, they love Gallagher. Super Break, Gallagher is their best friend, or was. I guess he's like the best man now, and then Lingsha is the best woman, but they love them some Gallagher, bro. I think we missed someone off the fall off list. I don't think Bailu fell off. Bailu is also, what did I say? I said it in the previous video. I think the term I used was like a subsidiary answer or something like that. Bailu was a subsidiary answer to not having 2 things. One, she didn't have cleanse, but we didn't need it early game. And that was a big factor in like why no one cared about cleanse as much as we did, or we should have. And then 2, Bailu had res. So like early game, Bailu is great because she was free if you happen to get her. Yeah. Mid to late game, it didn't matter anymore, because by the time a regular player or a casual player would have gotten to mid to late game, we would have already had Luocha, and we would have already been introduced to like the Mara Struck and the different elements in the game, the debuffs to our own team. So like we needed cleanse. I don't think Bailu got enough ramp up time to be on an up and up, but that's how I would do that. And that's kind of where I would end off with Gallagher, right? Is like Gallagher he fulfills so much. He's easier to play. He keeps the team alive, and he's being revolved around Super Break out of all things. Oh my, it's perfect. He's literally perfect for a lot of one of the strongest top 2 team archetypes in the game. He's perfect for that. He fulfills that condition. Number 2, Himiko. This is baby girl. Himiko went from, she has the highest attack stat in the game. Day 1, no one knew how to play her. I'm not gonna say no one, but the concept of break was not a thing back in early Star Rail. Like, we understood that in order to do big dig damage, you had to break the enemy. That much was very understood. But the concept behind how powerful break could be, without super break, mind you, how powerful the break status or the action of breaking an enemy could be used to your advantage, majority of the community did not understand that. Himiko's value was never looked at in a proper manner. If you go back and you look at most of the Himiko gameplay back then, especially when we get towards MOC, a lot of the Himiko gameplay is going to be hyper carry Himiko. And it's not to say that hyper carry like crit Himiko doesn't work, because she does. I think Himiko is one of the perfect hyper characters in the game. But when that's all they're focused on, and they're like, her mechanic is about breaking the enemy. And so when you are ignoring her mechanic to force her in a situation or into a scenario just to fulfill the condition of like a 0 cycle or a 1 cycle or a 2 cycle, whatever, you are not playing the character for that character. Like, you're not using Himiko. You just happen to be using a redhead with an explosion. That's how I viewed it. Over time, we saw that was the case. Now we're at a point where if you have Himiko and you're playing E2 Himiko, E1 Himiko, E4 Himiko, E6, whatever, because she's standard free, you're probably going to get a couple Himikos, and you start playing this character and you understand like, okay, how do I get break here, line up Robot Jones, break here, line up another Robot Jones, break the elite all in one turn. When you understand how to, it's like playing chess. When you understand how to play this character, there is so much free damage on the board for nothing. Literally for doing something that you would have done anyway, but you changed the order that you would do it. This character is cracked. And then you have the new relic sets, the follow-up sets. She got like 2 or 3 different follow-up sets, right? So all of those help her in some way, shape, or form. She's got new planar ornaments that she can take advantage of. She's got new light cones that she can take advantage of. She's got new team members that she can take advantage of. She has a new archetype super break that she can take advantage of. And the craziest thing about Himiko that I'm going to show you guys this in my, I'm going to try and edit it tonight so you guys have it. But you might get a double upload tomorrow. It depends on how much energy I have after the stream. But there's something about Himiko that has not been utilized yet. And it's the fact that on a super break team, you can bring a crit focused Himiko or a hybrid Himiko, and she will do even more damage than if you brought a regular standard super break Himiko. Let me explain why. The reason that is because Himiko is used as your damage dealer when you don't, it's the off broken damage dealer. You can use this character when the damage or the enemies are not broken. And so you don't have a damage drop off, right? Something about super break is during the point where enemies are not broken, they have their shields, you're doing no damage. If you guys have ever seen like a Firefly hit somebody and they kept their shields on, bro, I'm telling you, you see like 1200 damage, 3201 damage, right? Like you see very low numbers for your main DPS character. If you have Himiko on the team, crit, you're still able to get your 40, 50, 60, 70 Ks from doing that. You know what I mean? Boom. Now, instead of having that drop off when they're not broken, Himiko is the character that allows you to not only help break these enemies faster, but keeps it's all about consistency, keeps a consistent damage across the board. Then having a little bit of break effect in her. Now when they're broken, her super break kicks in, boom, you skyrocket the damage for the rest of the team. Hybrid Himiko is quite literally one of the best partners or one of the best characters to have on a super break team. If you can fit it, it's phenomenal. This character deserves number 2, arguably number 1. What did you say, Sarah? Why are people still building full break for super breakers? Is the stupidest thing ever. My hands are in the air. I don't have an answer to that question because I personally do not do that. So I don't know. But I do know that it is very common. It's common enough for the game to recommend it, and it's common enough for the Reddit threads and Twitter and Discords to recommend doing that. So, hey, you're asking the wrong guy, buddy. Last but not least, number 1, Topaz. Topaz has had the best come up in the game. The character that's been Doom posted the most out of the entire roster pre-Rappa. I think Rappa might actually take that position at this point, but Topaz, Doom posted. Follow-up attacks, who the fuck wants those? There's no one in the game that uses follow-up attacks. There's no reason to have Topaz. Doom posted, don't pull Topaz. Damage, bro, trash. She doesn't hunt character, bad. Don't pull her. Why would you do that when we have Jingli? We just got Jingli Yu, bro. Jingli Yu is going to help you leagues better. She can do everything better. We just got Dill Pickle, bro. Daniel's going to do everything leagues better. There's zero reason for anybody to pull hunt characters right now. Destruction characters are the play. Only pull destructions. Then we got Ratio. And that really allowed Topaz to shine. That also allowed vertical investment as a conversation to really start to pick up. E1, S1. Damn, E1, S1 Topaz kind of cracked. Before Topaz, players were not looking at Eidolon and Light Cone combinations. You could do E1, S0, E0, S1. Like, it didn't really matter. Players weren't looking at combinations as seriously until after Topaz. As you see, follow-up attacks, they are currently the number 1 strongest archetype in the game right now. Follow-up attack is currently the number 1 strongest archetype in the game. You see Topaz skyrocket in terms of usage. If you have a Topaz, skyrocket it. Face Shao, now you don't even need E1S1. Topaz just works. She's phenomenal. Her ability to take a team from basically to the next couple of levels is ridiculous. The amount of teams she works on, follow-up or not, is ridiculous. Even in a situation where, like, because Yun Li is a follow-up character, but like is like a counter meta. So Yun Li and Clara, love them some Topaz. Could you replace Topaz with Ting Yun? Yeah. Could you crack something faster and do a shit ton of damage with Topaz on the team instead? Fuck yeah. All of this stuff happening currently in the game, again, with the follow-up, the strongest archetype in the game currently, Topaz is attached to it. She is the pioneer for follow-up attacks. And I think everything after that point has just accentuated her strength. This character deserves number 1. I'm here for it. But I kind of want to know you guys, because earlier, a lot of y'all were saying, Himiko, what is your number 1? I want to know what everybody thinks their number one would be in the game as far as like a character that came up, the big glow up. We made a good argument. Like that's what I'm saying. Like Himiko, you could argue Himiko as the number one. After what I said about Himiko, and then probably even more that I'm not saying about Himiko, you could probably make that argument that Himiko is number one. I can't really imagine anybody else besides these two units being in this spot though. Yeah, Himiko, because she started at the bottom. Yep, see, exactly. Like I thought about it. I'm like, man, Boot Hill could be out there, but I don't think Boot Hill started, as you guys said, at the bottom. I think Boot Hill was just kind of skipped over. It's a similar situation to Rappa, right? Boot Hill and Rappa are in very similar situations where they aren't bad, but they're being overlooked for other characters that are around them. Why is Shui Yi on this list? Because when Shui Yi came out, and granted she's number 9, she's pretty high up on the list of like come up, right? The higher you are, the least you've came up, but you still had a come up. She said she's only gotten worse. I don't think this character's gotten worse. I think her usability or her usage rate has gotten lower because there's very little reason for you to have this character now if you already didn't invest into her. And that's kind of the problem that I have with Quantums overall, is that if you already just didn't invest into a Quantum character, and I say Quantum specifically because they have the largest track record for having this happen to them, if you didn't invest into a Quantum character, then you end up finding something to replace them. But I don't think she's gotten worse by design. People didn't invest into her. That's why she's up here at 9 though. I mean, because to be fair, right? Who else would you put here? Out of every other character here on this list, who could we say has a come up? I can't really imagine. Like, I can't say Acheron. It's definitely not Arlen. It's not Sparkle. It's not Silver. It's not Jing Yuan because he's on the fall off tier list. Like a lot of these characters, you can't really say it. March can't do that either because March 7th, regular March 7th, isn't the one that's being used. It's Hunt. And at this point, because they're separated, she's a whole different character, right? Like she's got a whole different kit. She requires an entirely different, ascension mats and trace materials. She's her own thing. Maybe Misha, right? And like that, I'm fine with the interchangeable. Misha over Sui Yi, you could make that argument. Luca, because he honestly got a pretty big boost with the break meta. Can't even say Luca. I've seen less Luca than I did when DOT was here. Jade is better than Sui Yi. Jade has had to come up further than Sui Yi, HMC, Misha, and QQ. Really? I haven't seen a lot of Jade, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like I know about Jade because I looked into Jade for Fei Xiao and I really like that combo. So I would not be surprised. I mean, we could have Jade here, right? Like this could be argued. Jade, Shui Yi, Misha. Still haven't seen Misha outside of Divergent. Then we can take Misha out. No more Misha. No more Misha. So now we have Jade and QQ, or not QQ, Shui Yi. I guess that's another one, right? QQ would have been a pretty good option, but I think at this point now she's kind of falling off. So like maybe 9 is just straight up Quantum. Maybe 9 is just straight up Quantum, you know? Jade is too new to have a come up. I don't think Jade is too new to have a come up because she is another character that was like massively skipped because she was seen as weak. And if she has usage now where that usage is pretty up there, I think it could work out. I want to say that's it. I want to get into the next video too, because I think the next video is definitely going to be a little shorter because I don't want to make a top 10. I don't want to make a top 10, bro. 10 is a lot. But anyhow, thank y'all for watching today's video. Hopefully, not hopefully you agree with the list. Let me know if you agree with the list or if your list is different. Tell me down below. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. Like the video, comment, subscribe. Smell you later.